Murder at Ocean View College. Chapter 9. Chasing Amber. Danny ran down the hall in the science building, trying to keep his eyes on Amber. She was moving pretty fast. Students were everywhere, going to and from their morning classes. He had to move to the left and right to avoid running into people. He saw her go into the women's restroom and stopped himself before following her inside. There was only one large door to the women's restroom, so Danny figured that she would eventually have to come out the same way she went in. He decided to wait. The hall was too crowded to pace, so he leaned against the wall and looked up and down the hall. He mumbled to himself as he waited, and every few seconds looked toward the restroom door. He didn't want to miss her. He was completely lost in thought when he felt a hand on his shoulder. It was Coach Kelly. "Hey, Danny, what's the matter? You have a fugitive trapped in there?" Danny managed a little smile. "No, Coach. I'm just waiting for someone. She might be some girl if you can't stand to have her out of your sight for a minute." "No, Coach, it's not like that. But Danny didn't finish the sentence because the coach had already moved on down the hall. Danny continued his survey of the hall. He looked toward the men's room, which was through the next door, and saw Mr. Taylor coming out. His hair looked just as messy as ever. Danny thought anyone going into a room with a mirror should at least take a quick look at himself. Mr. Taylor apparently didn't think the same way. Danny smoothed out his hair again with his hand. "Hey, Danny," he turned around when he heard Amber call his name. "Oh, Amber, you're just the person I wanted to see. Do you have a class now? Or do you have time for a cup of coffee? I'm buying." One look at her face, and Danny could tell that she looked both surprised and very happy. "I can't. I have to go work in the duplicating office. Like, right now. How about another time? A rain check?" He fell into step beside her as she walked towards Peterson Hall. He thought about the little scrap of paper. Amber probably dropped it. What did it mean? Why did she seem so frightened when he asked about the math test? He might as well ask. He reached in his pocket and pulled out the piece of paper and held it out toward her. "I think you dropped this." Amber grabbed it from his hand instantly and stuffed it in her own pocket. They walked along in silence a few more steps, and then Danny spoke. "What was that?" he asked casually. Just something for my job, no big deal." Danny nodded, but changed the subject. "You know, Amber, I've been meaning to ask you about that football game. You going with anyone?" She stopped suddenly, turned to look at him in the face, and asked, "You want to go with me, Danny?" Her eyes were wide, and her face showed just the beginning of a smile. "Well, when is it? This Friday or next?" he asked. "This Friday. Be ready at 6:30. I'll pick you up." She was smiling broadly again. Danny hesitated, only for a minute. Then he smiled. "Well, okay, Friday it is." He left Amber at the door of the duplicating office, and it suddenly hit him. "I have a date with Amber. Oh, God," he said, and slapped his hand against his forehead. "I have a date with Amber. I have to tell Jade. No, she wouldn't understand. Yes, I have to tell her, or she'll think I'm really cheating. No, she's always been jealous of Amber. She wouldn't understand." He slapped himself again. "Oh, God, how am I going to pull this off? Stupid, really stupid. I have a date with Amber," he groaned. By the time he reached the police bungalow, he had decided that it was better if Jade didn't know about this little date with Amber. At least, not right away. Maybe in about 10 years. Or maybe never.